times I'm watching. Oh, I got it. Watching the story of A Course in Miracles, where Glynis Johns is doing the voice of Helen Schuckman, and they get to the bit where Jesus tells them the course is not to be copywritten. You know, and it's like, all you had to do was play that on a video player. In those days, it was VHS, you know, the tape, and you had to rewind it. Imagine playing that in court.
I never heard that part.
There's Bill Thetford. Oh, you watch it, part A and part B. It's in there somewhere. You watch it. Imagine having Bill Thetford, right, who they're trying to say Helen and Bill were the authors, not Jesus, right? Imagine having Bill Thetford and Glynis Johns playing the part of Helen Schuckman in their thing going, and the Course in Miracles is not to be copywritten, but freely given to, you know, all of that. Surely your case is out the window. So it's like Judith, I think it was Judith even that did that, but Judith was talking about that part, I think, about the copyright. And I'll have to go back and watch it again to be exact. You know how I am with my memory. But anyway, it's there. So there's several points of contention regarding trying to put a copyright on. The only reason would be for control. So trying to control the information and the flow of information. So I'm grateful that finally, you know, I used to say to Ted, I said, the only reason you had to come here, dude, was to get that copyright off the course. That was you can go now. I used to tell him that you can go now. And he'd just look at me like blank, like, what do you think? Anyway, I just want to read this bit, right? You cannot triumph, but you are exalted. You cannot triumph, but you are exalted. And in your exalted state, you seek others like you and rejoice with them. In your exalted state, you seek others like you and rejoice with them. It is easy to distinguish grandeur from grandiosity simply because love is returned, but pride is not. Pride will not produce miracles and therefore will deprive you of the true witness to your reality. Truth is not obscure nor hidden, but its obviousness to you lies in the joy you bring to its witness. Who show it, to its witness, who show it to you. They attest to your grandeur, but they cannot attest to pride because pride is not shed. God wants you, listen to this, God wants you to behold what he created because it is his joy. Can your grandeur be arrogant when God himself witnesses to it? And what can be real that has no witnesses? What good can come of it? And if no good can come of it, the Holy Spirit cannot use it. What he cannot transform to the will of God does not exist at all. Grandiosity is delusional because it is used to replace your grandeur. Yet what God created cannot be replaced. God is incomplete without you simply because his grandeur is total, and you cannot be missing from it. You are altogether irreplaceable in the mind of God. No one else can fill your part of it, and while you leave your part of it empty, your eternal place merely waits for your return. God, through his voice, reminds you of it, and God himself keeps your extensions safe within it. But you do not know them until you return to them. You cannot replace the kingdom and you cannot replace yourself. God, who knows your value, would not have it so, and so it is not so. Your value is in God's mind, and therefore not in yours alone. To accept yourself as he created you cannot be arrogant. To accept yourself as he created you cannot be arrogant, because it is the denial of arrogance. To accept your littleness is arrogant because it means that you believe your evaluation of yourself is truer than God's. But if truth is indivisible, then your evaluation of yourself must be God's. You did not establish your value and it needs no defense. Nothing can attack it or prevail over it. It does not vary, it merely is. Ask the Holy Spirit what it is, and he will tell you. But do not be afraid of his answer, for it comes from God. It is an exalted answer because of its course. But the source is true, and so is its answer. Listen and do not question what you hear, for God does not deceive. Ready? Listen and do not question what you hear. Do not question what you hear, for God does not deceive. He would have you replace the ego's belief in littleness with his own exalted answer to the question of your being, so that you can cease to question it and know it for what it is. You get a sense of the power in that statement? Try to reach into it. Try to feel it. This is a statement of a celestial order. It's something that goes beyond the world, beyond the dimensional realms of time and space and all the other interdimensional universes that are out there. It goes beyond all thoughts for form or form association. You are exalted in God's eyes. You are his creation. Try to feel that of yourself. Try to feel it of yourself and don't question it. You are beyond question and you are beyond doubt. Try to feel what that is. Receive his answer and do not question it. Listen for his voice, and what you hear, do not question it. Let it find its place in you. Don't doubt it. Don't investigate it. Simply let it in to abide and to grow and to flourish as your own perception of yourself, as your own state of mind regarding yourself and all those who walk the world with you. You are holy because of what you are as a child of God. There's a strong angelic presence around at the moment. Personally, I don't know what to do with it. I've never had a strong connection to concepts, stories, or ideas about angels in this world, other than the one that appeared to Mary to tell her she was going to have a boy and to call him Jesus. I've had one profound experience of the Archangel Michael, which was, I kind of write that one off because I was on hallucinogenics at the time, several years prior to the course. And I can't be honest with myself that it wasn't my mind playing tricks on me. Even though at the time the idea that was portrayed through the hallucination or through the experience was incredibly angelic and was, as far as I'm concerned, what the manifestation of an angel would be, but still. But I feel in listening, I spent some time listening yesterday. I wasn't very successful. I didn't hear anything particularly but I did feel a sense. I didn't hear anything specific, but I did feel a sense of something emerging, something being orchestrated, like just wait and see, that kind of sense, you know, like. And it's funny, I was in the supermarket a few days ago, actually the day before Queen Elizabeth passed, and I was queuing up at the cash register. There was a lady in front of me putting her vegetables and things through, and they have a little magazine rack there between the cash registers, and sometimes it's chocolate bars and whatever, but this one was a magazine rack. And there was a magazine with the picture of the Queen on it. And I just looked at it, I just glanced at it, and I heard clearly in my mind that silent voice, and it said, she's going to pass tomorrow. And I didn't think anything of it. Now looking back, I wish I'd have got on Facebook and posted it up, you know, it would have been cool. But I just didn't think anything of it, you know. And then the next day I woke up and there was the news, of course, that she actually had passed. And so I put a post up, and Nuke Sanchez, who's also kind of savvy in these things, she got onto me and she said, hey, I had that same direction. I heard that as well, that she's going to pass. And I feel like, personally, I feel within that there's got to be more to it. I don't know what it is, but there's got to be more to it. And Ted used to say, sometimes there's an orchestration in things, you know, you'll have something will happen just to bring you to an alert state of mind, just to bring you to a focus with it. And so when the next part of it unfolds or whatever, you'll be aware, you'll be like, aha, aha. Without those prompts, quite often you're not aware. It's like when you have your own particular thing going on. It's like I had a young girl the other day, my life just keeps getting worse and worse. Why the hell can't I have a good life? And so I wrote to her just simply about, she wasn't on my spiritual page, she's on one of my other pages, but I wrote to her just simply about, try to become aware of your cycles. Try to become aware of how often unhappy situations come around, and recognize them by their emotional content to you, right? Your responses, your reactions. And then the next time that they come around, you can learn to make better choices, but you'll pick up on them coming around again if you're prompted to be aware that that's actually what's going on. So this whole thing with Her Majesty, and I'm thinking, well, I've been prompted to pay attention to this for some reason, right? The Holy Spirit doesn't just tell you stuff for no reason. And Nuke and I wrote to her privately, and I said to her, look, I feel there's more to this and whatever. And she's like, yeah, I don't know either. So I don't know either. So we'll see. It's exciting stuff. But one of the things in the Urtext, Jesus says somewhere, and you can find this, Tina, to get the exact quote, because I'll muck it up. Jesus says something like, the princes of this world are angels, right? I can't remember if it was the royalty of this world or the princes or the kings and queens of this world are angels. And I often think about that. And there's another part in there where he says early in the text that angels were sent in, right, into the illusion early on, but had to be recalled because of man's refusal to or unwillingness to want peace. You know, man wanted conflict. And if you look back at our history, we're a very barbaric kind of genetic organism as far as that goes. Like we love to invade and conquer and you know, from tribal level to global and national level to world war. We love all that stuff. It's ingrained there. And then it wasn't long ago, it was only like, what, 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, I was just about
to say. And I was talking with you, Tina, and then I had that whole moment happen, and I was told that an angel will be sent back in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking to see, it was like a couple of weeks ago. It was like, because this whole
like a few weeks ago, an angel will be sent back into the continuum, right? So obviously I'm looking at this in my mind. I'm like, wow, I don't even know what to do with this information. An angel will be sent back in. I'm hearing the voice. I'm like having this whole thing, you know. What do you do with that? Like I'm telling you guys, I'm sharing it with you guys. And the other part of that realization or that hearing was that you will meet them, or I'm not sure if it was you will meet them or you will know them, or you will know who it is. It was something like that, the second part. But for me, whenever I hear anything specifically and directly, it's usually only a few words, 3 or 4 words. And then by the time those 3 or 4 words get through, my conscious mind wants to look at those words and make them tangible all of a sudden, and it cuts off the communication, and it's like Jesus says, you can't be without your body for too long in time and space, or it'll just perish. It's like any moment that you open your mind to reality and receive communication, that's miraculous. It's miraculous that can even occur. How Helen managed to keep her mind open for 7 years straight to channel the course, I have no clue. No clue. She has to be not of this world in a way where, like, way further. I've never really known anyone. I've been to see a few guys that have channeled before, and their information was kind of pretty cool and whatever, and would go on for 15, 20 minutes and all that sort of thing. And I remember J.M. Hammer, and when he used to channel the Way of the Heart stuff, that was really good. But and then that stopped, like for whatever reason it was, that stopped. And I think I know the reason, but I'm not going to say. But trying to keep the mind open, it's like, man, how much resistance do I have? How resistant am I to hearing God's voice? I say I want to hear it, but as soon as I hear a few words start to creep through, bam, I'm addicted to to shutting it off and just, So I thought today, you guys can do the 20-minute book in a second, but I thought today we'd do some listening. Tina, you and I did those listening exercises during the week, and I want to push that and go deeper with it. Because it is the listening that opens the mind. I mean, the forgiveness removes the blocks, but there's no point removing the blocks if you're not going to listen. It's like connecting up a telephone. What's the point in connecting up the telephone if you're not going to listen, see who's on the other end, It's like, let's remove the blocks and then we can listen and hear clear communication, whatever. So I feel that there must be more to the message than she's going to pass tomorrow. That's kind of, to me, like probably Ted said that one, and he's having a or the old man, maybe. I don't know. It's just curious. Funny things you hear, like that silent voice really is silent, but it really is a true voice. And it's like how you hear it, I don't even know. It just comes through when the mind is still. Sometimes I hear it when I'm driving and I'm preoccupied with driving. Sometimes I hear it like the other day in the supermarket when I'm looking at the magazine rack. I wasn't thinking to be still and to listen. It just pops through. It's almost as if there's somebody up there waiting for that moment. And they're going, oh, look, there's Dave. He's just about to, and there's some sort of bar graph going on or something. I don't know how it works, And then you get within the range and they go, boom, and they send the message, something like that, but that's how it feels. But what do I know? I don't know nothing. But it kind of feels like that sometimes. So, and the voice is so clear. That's the thing. It's silent. It makes no sound. It's perfectly silent. It's a still and silent voice, yet it's audible and you can hear it. But it's not like the voice in your head. So go figure. You can't work it out. You can't work it out. It's divine. It's beyond conception. She's going to pass tomorrow. It's just like that came through. It's like the day I was walking up from meditation up the beach and I heard, go up into the sand dunes here. And there was that girl in the sand dunes trying to cut her wrists. I couldn't see her from the beach, but like I heard the voice in my head, go up into the sand dunes here. It was clear as day, like someone was talking to me, yet it made no sound, but I heard it. The mysteries of God are just, I'm always, you know, in this level anyway, in this level, in this worldly experience, whenever you hear anything of God or have any kind of revelation, it seems to be natural, but at the same time, in retrospect, you look at it and you think, how the hell did that happen? How did I hear that? Where did that voice come from? Where is it in me that came from somewhere and I was able to hear it in my conceptual thinking? You know, it made no sound, all of that sort of stuff. So I'd love to get a copy of Darjon's book, The Knee of Listening. We had one in the library once, but it's a big ass book like that. But Adi Dar Samaranch.
I got it.
Oh, you've got it?
Yeah, it's on. You can get it easily.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I just ordered one actually. I was just prompted to order one of the Seth books. And I know it hasn't arrived yet, but it's one of the original edits. I didn't want one of the ones that had been re-edited and reissued and all of that. I thought I'll get the original edit because usually they have the mistakes in them, and you can often pick as much from the mistakes and the bad grammar and everything else as anything else. But it's like Helen's notes.
Yeah, I got it. I got it actually on Kindle, so you could get it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't lying. Yeah.
Kindle a thing you can do on your phone?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
it's
I'll have
Amazon. Kindle.
All right, I'll try and find that. I'll support Bezos a bit more.
Why not?
Wealthy enough, yeah. Somebody's got to be the world's richest man, don't they? May as well be Brother Bezos. Ah, dear. All right, let's do the 20-minute book. Bibiana, would you start with lesson 1, please? One of the things I like about this in the Zoom meeting idea, I love Anna's halo, is where 2 or more are gathered, there I am in the midst of them. The reading of this book, the reading of this, we're joining together in a single purpose. We're gathering in his name. He is in the midst of us. Right? Salvation is joining. It's a very real and very tangible, to me at least, experience of both knowing and feeling that the presence of God is activated and active when we join together in this purpose. So as well as just reading the words, try to feel into the words, try to feel the presence of not only the offering of your salvation, but the presence of him who offers it. That takes a second before you start reading to connect to. Do it. That's what we're all about. It's that connecting. It's that making it tangible to you that this is about. It's not about the reading of the words. That's just an excuse. That's just part of the mind training. But the entirety of the mind training itself is helping you to reestablish that connection, which is available now. It doesn't happen at the end of the reading of the lessons. It doesn't happen at the end of the workbook. It's constantly available in this moment, in this present moment, here and now. So as we proceed, as we read, as we join together in this, try to get a sense of doing it, of what we're about in the presence of holiness, in the presence of God. It's not as if you're someone who's separate from that, trying to reconnect with it. You're already a part of it. We're just attempting to remember quicker. Finding ourselves in this dream, collapsing the time that it took to remember, but it doesn't mean that that remembering isn't available now. Okay, this doesn't take time. It takes a miracle. It takes a moment. Okay, when you're ready, Bibiana, let's hear it. Rock my socks off.
Nothing I see means anything. the reason this is so is that I see nothing, and nothing has no meaning. It is necessary that I recognize this, that I may learn to see. What I think I see now is taking the place of vision. I must let it go by realizing it has no meaning, so that vision may take its place.
Good. Are you grateful to have those words?
I'm grateful to be here. Yeah.
It's the gratitude. Literally, it's the gratitude that keeps that open. It's like, wow. It's like, how grateful can I be that nothing I see means anything finally. There's a whole period of regret, I guess, that nothing you see means anything that you go through initially in this undoing. It's like, what do you mean nothing I see means anything? What about my kids and my family and my friends and all of these sorts of things? Doesn't mean anything. I've spent a lifetime trying to develop some sort of meaning to give to it so I feel nourished and encouraged and nurtured and all of these things. And now you're telling me nothing? It's like, oh, thank God for that. I can stop trying to nourish and nurture and just be myself. It's hard work, all that nourishing and nurturing. It takes a lot of effort. And then what do you do when you're not nourishing and nurturing? You must be withering and wilting. So the human mind goes from nourishing and nurturing to withering and wilting. And it's like, that's a lot of effort. It's like climbing up a ladder and then going back down again, climbing up a ladder, going back down again. It's like I go to work all week and flog my guts out so I can have fun on the weekend. So I can work all week and flog my guts out so I can have fun on the weekend. So what the hell even is that? What? Who thought up that for a dream? Like, really? Me? All of a sudden, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean a damn thing. Why do I do that? I must be crazy. Why do I do anything? I'm crazy. Do I want to stop being crazy? Let me think about that. Let me read a bit of this Course in Miracles and see if there's an alternative to my crazy. Maybe the only alternative I have is reality. And if nothing I see means anything, is a doorway to my reality, then I better investigate that nothing I see means anything is true for me. Because I can't walk through that doorway if it still means something. I can't avail myself of the truth of that teaching while I'm still in denial of it. I might like it. It might sound beautiful and wonderful, and thank God for that. My thoughts don't mean anything. I'm a child of God. I love all that stuff. But is it true for me? Is that where I'm at with it? But wherever it is you're at with it, you're in a process. It's a process of undoing, a process of relinquishment, and a process of reattainment of the truth. Not that you can reattain it, you've already been given it, but you can remember it. I'm remembering that I'm one with God, like that thing we read in there. It's like the magnitude of my glory is beyond my comprehension. God sees it in me. Do I want to know what God sees in me? I've got to see the way God sees. It's like, all right, let me be about the undoing of the way I see so something else can be shown to me. I want to see how God sees. I want to see you guys as God sees you. I've never seen that, luckily for me, but you get the idea. I get to do the nani nanas. I'm that one kid in the classroom that gets to bang the dusters and gets to be the teacher's pet for a second. It's kind of good on one hand, I love it, and then on the other hand, it's shit. because the potential for doubt and whatever has been stripped from me. But sometimes I had a funny one the other day. I had this young girl, well, she wasn't young, everybody's young to me as an association, but this girl approached me online, and it took me quite a while actually to realize it was a scam. She was telling me all these nice things, and I was trying to find these nice things about me in my mind, right? I'm looking, it's really funny. Oh, you're so sexy, she's saying, and I'm like, what the fuck is sexy? You know, and whatever it is, you're so sexy. And then I started to tweak, you know, and we could hook up on here if you give me your email address or whatever, and then we can go from there and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And so I went over to her profile page, and she only had like one follower, with some other sap kind of guy that probably fell for her tricks. And then there was all this XXX hearts, love, whatever, all this stuff, and come and meet me on whatever it was, you know, but you have to pay to go and meet her on this thing. And it's like, I fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to let myself fall for this. I'm going to see where it goes. And I kind of had an inkling, you know, but it's like they're getting creative now. I've even had ones where, have you ever had those ones and they'll have like 4 posts, like a profile? There'll be like only 4 posts and maybe 16 friends or something. And all of those posts will be about what you're interested in. It's like a bot. So I'm getting spiritual ones now. People send me friend requests and I'm getting spiritual bots. So there'll be quotes from like Krishnamurti or whatever, but there'll only be 3 or 4 posts and like 3 or 4 friends. And I'm looking at this thing going, are these real? Is this a real person, whatever? And you write to them and you get nothing back. You know, it's like, join me on Patreon or whatever that is. But yeah, it's funny. It's like the lure, you know, like that temptation. It shows up in spiritual garments. And you sort of look at it and you go, oh, it could be something. But it's like that bit we just read in the Urtext. You look for those that resonate like you do. You know, it's like your mind is automatically attracted to other awakening minds. When you start to wake up and you start to realize that the potential of your life is contained through forgiveness, and you start to recognize that in others. It's like Jesus talks about it in the Course as their forehead is serene and their eyes are calm and quiet and they smile more often and all these sorts of things. And they're just peaceful where they go. It's like, I'm genuinely attracted to people like that. I don't care about what they look like or what they have or any of that stuff. But it's like, I'll see somebody in the street or whatever, and it's like, Dean's a classic example for it too. Dean will go out of his way to drive down the other end of the street, you know, and confront somebody who he feels like he should go and speak to. But it's like, it's bizarre. There's this such strong attraction. Truth recognizes truth. Awakening recognizes awakening. It's such a strong attraction, and you should feel it and listen to it and connect with it and let yourself be led by it. You know, there's nothing foolish or ridiculous in this. There's nothing silly. There's nothing that's absurd or eccentric or any of those things. It's like literally any straw, any blade of grass that represents the slightest thing to do with salvation, you'll be drawn towards it. Let yourself be drawn towards it. Let yourself feel what that drawing is. There's part of your mind that's going to go, no, there's nothing there. Don't worry about it. Don't be silly. It's like you don't know unless you investigate. You don't know unless you look into things. You don't know unless you feel it out, sound it out. This journey is literally a journey of connecting, and initially through the senses and the feelings, and we kind of have this sixth sense of things where what we feel and see and touch and all of those things is transcended by this kind of knowing, We have this kind of inner guidance that initially gets developed through a sense of things. You'll be standing in a crowded shopping mall or something, and if you actually tune in, if you stand there and ask, why am I here, Lord? What would you have me do in this place? And wait for an answer, you'll get a sense of things, of why you're there. And the amount of times that I've found myself going into shops and other places, or meeting people in situations like that and having conversations about salvation, handing out books, doing stuff like that. It's ridiculous. It's everywhere. You know, it's not just on Zoom meetings. It's not just, it's like the awakening is happening everywhere, and wherever you are, it's happening. Wherever you are is never by no reason, never by circumstance. You know, even reading these lessons, even reading this course, it's not by circumstance. There's no coincidence that you're here. Try to get a sense of that. This is where I'm meant to be. This is where I'm meant to be, and I'm here so that I can dig deeper into my sense of myself, so that I can avail myself of the knowledge that's contained through these words experientially in my own self-reference. If I didn't know that nothing I see means anything, I'd probably wander around for the rest of my days looking for some kind of spiritual guidance, thinking that everything I see means something. It's like the New Age. Remember when the New Age was happening in the 80s? And it's like everybody had every damn book going. We all had crystals and tarot cards, and we were just looking. We were looking for something to make sense of our lives. And every time somebody would bring out a new book, I remember somebody raced around to my house once, and this book called The Indigo Children or something. And it's like, you have to read this book. It was a passionate thing. And I'm like, what do you mean I have to read this book? She said, you'll love this book. This is right up your street. So I read about 3 pages and put it down. It wasn't right up my street at all. But that passion and that fervor for awakening, it's like you'll feel it through everything. You'll just sense it. You'll connect with it. And you'll want to connect with it more and more and more. You cannot triumph, but you are exalted. And in your exalted state, you seek others like you and rejoice with them. In your exalted state, you seek others like you and rejoice with them. Am I willing to do that? Absolutely. Totally. I'm willing to seek others like me and rejoice with them. I seem to be beset on all sides by people not like me, but that doesn't matter. I'm willing to seek others like me and rejoice with them. It's in the joining. It's in that coming together. It's in that single purpose. We make each other stronger. We are each other's light, each other's keeper. We're doing this together. There's a real sense of that camaraderie and brotherhood and like single purpose. And it's like, oh, thank God I found you. Traveler on the road. Thank God I found you at last. We come together in the appointed time and place to practice our lessons and to release the world and to help each other in our emotional states and all of these things, because the world's a fucking head case. It's an absolute head case. Trying to get through it without salvation is, you know, throw me from the train, please. So it's like that attraction, it will lead you, right? Where he says, you seek others like you and rejoice with them. The Holy Spirit knows what you want before you ask. The Holy Spirit knows that automatically you want to seek others like you and rejoice with them, and will lead you to them. Jesus says in the course, I will send them to you, right? And here we are. We're all together. There's like, what's this motley crew of Jesus's followers here, you know, like It's a beautiful thing. You have to see it from a slightly higher perspective. It's like these words that he's saying in this book, they're true. Who else do you know spends Saturday midday at a Zoom meeting talking about forgiveness and love and whatever? It's like, we've got to be some kind of crazy people to be doing that. There's a whole world out there of people we could be fucking and drinking and partying on and just like running amok like everybody else and just having a fat time. But here we are, bloody, you know, Jesus wants me for a sunbeam, and here we are, because we recognize a greater calling. We've recognized, however dimly, something greater than the call and the offerings of the world within our heart and our mind, and we want to mature that. We want to tune into it. We want to feel it. We want to bring it to fruition in us, in the world as well as beyond the world. We're here to represent. When we read those words, you know, when we read the words and we have the experience of what the words mean in us, as in the meaning God has given those words for us, not what we think they mean. I don't know what nothing I see means anything means. How the hell do I know what that means? As far as I'm concerned, everything means something. I'm going to need a damn miracle to show me what nothing I see means anything is. What does that even mean? But we come together for that miraculous purpose. We come together so that we can embark upon our preordained path of learning to be teachers of God. I walk among the ministers of God. I'm holy and I'm worthy. And in this congregation here, we share that holiness and that worthiness. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it, because God has no doubt about you. You're meant to be here. You are meant to be here. You're meant to be hearing, joining, listening, rejoicing, giving thanks, all of these things, because there is an opportunity contained in every moment that we're recognizing where forgiveness brings us peace. And we can learn to see that in every opportunity in the world. Forgiveness brings us rest to our soul, not death like old Queen Elizabeth. Forgiveness. It's really a cool thing when you can sort of see the whole setup. It's like, damn, how did I even get here? One day I'm standing in the supermarket and I hear she's going to pass tomorrow, and the next thing I wake up and she's gone. The next day I wake up and the Queen's gone. She's dead. It's like, what? How did I hear that voice? It's like everything is drawing me in, drawing me in, drawing me in. Everything. And as I'm willing to let it, as I'm willing to read these lessons, allowing myself to be drawn into them, to feel them, to let them into my core, they will begin to unlock in me an automatic response to truth, which has been waiting for me to nurture it and whatever since time began. It's like laying dormant. Something's laying dormant in me, waiting for me to say yes to it. All right, do the next one, Bibiana. Feel it.
Can you turn on the light, sweetheart?
You have mighty companions there.
Yeah, I do have my companion here. There, thank you. I have given what I see all the meaning that it has for me. I have judged everything I look upon. And it is this and only this that I see. This is not vision. It is merely an illusion of reality. Because my judgments have been made quite apart from reality. I am willing to recognize. I'm willing to recognize the lack of validity in my judgments, because I want to see. My judgments have hurt me, and I do not want to see according to them.
Good. Am I willing to recognize the lack of validity in my judgment?
Yeah.
Am I? Am I
am.
still suffering from the effects they bring to me? Am I suffering from the effects of my judgments? That will answer the question, whether I actually am willing.
I see.
It's like, oh, I mean, there's always more work to do. There's always more forgiveness. There's never an opportunity, a day, a moment goes by where God's not calling upon my forgiveness to save me. But each of these lessons, each of these little snippets of truth gives me an opportunity to see, is this where I'm at? Jesus is telling me this course. This course is reflective of a perfectly healed mind and teaches me how to purify my mind in the process. But I need to recognize that in every opportunity and everything I read in there, is that where I'm at? Is that true for me? And if you can recognize whether it is or it isn't, it's either a cause for gratitude or a cause for prayer. One of the things, when I read that book, I read it from a self-reflective place. I don't just read it and take it for granted that that's what he's saying to me, so that's how it is. It's like, that is how it is in reality. But I find myself in time. I find myself in time and space, and I accept the place where I find myself, illusion or not. It's like it's an unworthy use of denial to pretend that the dream's not happening whilst you find yourself in it. That's just escapism. So I read those words and it's like, whew, those are big words.
Am I willing to recognize? Am
Right.
I really willing to recognize each moment when I
Exactly.
forget it's not judgment, it's really invitation? Am I really willing
That's
to
right.
recognize the lack of validity? Yeah, there's no personal. I made everything personal. And I created experience of suffering, what is again in my mind, you know? Am I willing? Am I really willing to recognize?
That's it.
It's a love speaking, love giving,
That's
giving,
it.
grateful gift. I know that.
Yes.
I forget,
Yes.
but again, you know, am I taking
Right.
it seriously above all else? Above all else, really, what I want peace. And
Good.
I am peace. I am peace because it's just in my mind.
Yep.
There's no personal. There's no personal. That mindset, that habit wants to make it personal and believe what I see has a meaning. There's no meaning. There are no differences. I'm not apart from. There are no differences. There are no differences.
Right.
And if I see it, then again, I am in that habit. And again, that invitation. Am I really willing to recognize lack of validity? Or am I lying to myself and pacifying myself?
Yes.
And am I tired of it yet? Am I done with it yet? Am I done?
That's right. That's exactly it. Good job.
And that's the gift of it. It's a gift of it.
That is the
Each
gift.
moment.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. What you said, that sentence, I've written it for myself, you know, every moment giving me opportunity.
And it's joyous.
Yes. Gratefulness.
it's joyous to realize that I am the liar.
Yeah.
Like, I love that moment. It's like, oh damn, I'm kidding myself again. I don't want to beat myself up for kidding, for being a liar about things, but it's like, at least I can learn to laugh at myself. It's like, oh damn it. There I go, kidding myself about wanting this again and again and again. I don't want truth. I just want my version of the truth. It's like,
My version of a truth, exactly.
And that doesn't work. It'll never bring me any happiness, because it's like that version will be taken over, and that version and that version. And the next thing you know, it's like, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
How do you get through the day on a version of truth? Crawl into bed, it's like everybody's been hitting you with a stick all day, and it's just like, I don't have any credible basis for operation with which to function within the world unless I actually have the reality of truth and not my interpretation of it.
Yeah.
So the joy comes in realizing I don't know the truth. I must be mad. There's something going on in my head that's telling me that my version of events is better than the truth of the events. And it's like, it's just that unwillingness to let go. It's just that unwillingness to forgive and be forgiven. But it can run deep, especially where you have an emotional connection with somebody who's close to you, or family or friends or whatever. Those emotions are like anchors. They keep
No
you in.
exceptions. No exceptions. No exceptions. It's exactly the same. There's no personal. And if I want to keep one nugget personal, again, I'm lying to myself. And again, I want it my way and my meaning and this way and my preferences. And, oh, I'm broken and someone needs to fix me. And that. There's no solution. There's no satisfaction in the world. It never worked. It never worked, and it can never work. It never worked. It's that little girl in a childhood who said, if I was my mommy's version, I would be loved. And, oh, why doesn't it work? No, it's a personal meaning to everything, believing there are differences, and someone can be more or less, or someone can have power over me. It's all madness. It never works. I can travel. How many times I traveled to Africa? I was never satisfied with hunger. Already I arrived there and volunteered, and I thought it was the best trip ever. I already was in a misery, counting how many days are left, when I'm gonna leave, comparing it, why I don't love my mom the same way as that feeling toward Africa or whatever else. It never worked. I created my own prison. Experience. I created experience believing this is suffering and this, and now all personal preferences, mom, my daughter, this, that. My gosh, I'm just
crazy.
My own personal shackle, my own personal preferences, and this kind of thing. Give and get. Oh, I got it. I'm full. No. In gratitude, abundance, how it feels, it's totally different than getting. It can't even be compared, that experience.
No. I
am as God created me. There are no requirements there. There are no list of earned innocent or can be lost innocent or something.
There's no specialness there.
Yeah, no specialness.
You're not special.
There's just easiness.
That's actually the joyous realization you have. It's like, oh, thank God I'm not. Thank God I'm not special. I've got no facade to keep up. I've got nobody.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure. I'm just at peace in that place. But getting to that place, clearing away all the bullshit, that's another story. That passion that you're having, and you're expressing for the sanctity of your own process, that's literally all the power in the universe that you're ever going to need.
Yes.
It's like to stay in touch with that passion, because the point of life is to be passionate about it. That's what life is. Life is the extension of your passion. It doesn't matter what you extend it through or how you extend it. Without that passion, without getting in touch with it, we just feel like these withdrawn husks where we have no life, and I feel empty inside and there's nothing going on for me, and it's just like, I don't matter, I don't count for anything, because you've lost the passion for life, because you're trying to describe on your own terms what you think life is and how you should be about making the most of it. That's the human condition. Stop trying to make the most of it. Let life teach you. Let life offer what it is rather than you interpret it. There's a whole world of people out there charging around trying to make millions of dollars and be the best they can be, and, you know, all that sort of crap. It's like, fuck all that. Let them go do that. I'm not interested in that anymore. I thought that was a thing once. I've got to have a car, I've got to have a house, I've got to this, that, and the other, successful friends, you know, all these things that I thought defined me in the world. Same thing, going to Africa, doing Live Aid, whatever. It's like, same thing. Those things can't ever define you. You're already perfect. You're a child of the universe, child of God. Let anyone try to tell you that you're not. How do they know? They don't even know what that is. You don't even know what that is. Why would you deny it then? If you don't know what something is, why fob it off? Just simply recognize, I don't know what that actually is, and then be about the process of finding out. Better to be in the ignorance. It's better to be in the I don't know rather than, oh yeah, I get it. Because as soon as you think you've got something, as soon as you think you've mastered the art of something in this place where everything's always changing every second of the day, you're screwed. Because what you had today isn't going to be tomorrow. What you think you've got a grasp on in this particular thing going on here, tomorrow, it's open to the winds of change, to the fates. You got no idea unless you're the world's best clairvoyant, and, you know, in which case, give me the lottery numbers. I'll take it. Funny, Janita and I buy a lottery ticket every week. We take turns week and week about, and every week we have these, I'll never tell her this, but every week we have these little discussions before lottery's drawn about what we're going to spend our winnings on, you know, and every week we try to come up with a new thing, you know, new cars and holidays and all these sorts of things. And it's like, I love, this is me, right? I love going, you know, those little machines that sit on the counter and you put your ticket in and it tells you if you've won anything or not, right? It's got a barcode and you put the barcode in. I love going to that and seeing that I'm not a winner, right? It's worth my $7 a week for the ticket just so I can have that moment of not a winner. And I still have in my heart this little moment of, oh, no, not this week. And it's like that little moment of, I'm alive in there. I'm alive. There's passion in there. It makes me laugh at myself that I ever expect I'm going to win. Like, it's the biggest joke. It's like I almost can't stop from laughing even before I get to the counter. You know, it's hilarious. And Janita, when I tell Janita we haven't won this week, she goes, nah, fuck, she gets all frustrated about it. It's the funniest thing. But it's like, I'm in it for the lols, you know, I'm in it for the laughs. I'm not in it to win $1 million. If you win $1 million, that's great. What are you going to do? Give it away. It doesn't make you anything more. But you've got to realize that place, though, where you're not in it for the laughs. You've got to realize that place where you're taking it too seriously and constructing meanings that you're giving to everything that you're forcing yourself to live by. What's the point of that? All these judgments and condemnations about these people and those people and this situation and that situation. Who the hell does that benefit? Certainly not you. Certainly not me, finger on my nose. Let me let it all go. I'll just let it all go and just think, fuck it. I'm just passing through here in this universal experience of being a human being on a planet. Ain't nobody's getting out the other end with a gold medal. But I can unravel the mystery of life while I'm here if I set about it. And then I won't have to come back around again, which is the nature of life. from birth to death and on to birth again. It's not really ever a death. Everything's constantly renewing, everything's constantly changing and reinventing itself, and it's just one form after another after another. It's like, wow, I'm kind of done with that. I see what it brings. It brings me more Zoom meetings. Brings me more opportunities to remember to laugh at myself. Well, why don't I just laugh at myself totally, let the whole thing go now and be done with it? So I can be in the world, but not of it. So I can be the observer. So I can be the passerby. That's where I'm headed. That's the whole process of transformation, is to relinquish my attachment to the world so that I can be free of it and be like like all those young kids that travel Europe with their thing on their back, like a backpacker. I'm just walking around going, wow, look at that, look at that. But as soon as you settle down and get an opinion about something or give it a meaning, you become part of it and it starts to define you. And then your backpack gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And before you know it, you can't even remember where you were headed. You've got all these ideas and thoughts and things that you've got to validate continually in your thinking. And it's hard work. You'll drive yourself crazy doing that. I don't need to do that anymore. I don't have a use for any of my thoughts. The only thought I want in my mind is love. That's it. Extend it out, that's what comes back. Anything other than love you extend out, that's going to come back in all its duplicity. The whole world's a dualistic flip-flop. Yin and yang follow each other. All your good works are followed by all your bad works. All your good ideas are just the flip side of all your bad ideas. What's the point? It just goes around and around and around. No good deed goes unpunished. I think that was Heracles said that. Tina, you can check that. You're my fact checker. Or it might have been Plato, actually. I think Plato, no good deed goes unpunished. So anyway, one of those old guys, the old Greek dudes that used to wear the toga. When they weren't drunk on toga wine, they were pontificating wisdoms. Somebody pinged me on Facebook. All right, Anna, do the next one. Let's go for it. Your halo's keeping its place there really well, actually.
I know. Stand right in place.
Remember when you were a kid and you had to balance a book on your head in class, and you there'd be that one kid that could always just keep it there, some smart ass little girl that just, the rest of us would be like, ah. Be like the smart kid. Take a breath, go for it.
I do not understand anything I see.
Is that just me, or is your microphone dropping out?
How could I understand? Oh, no. Can you hear me?
Can hear you, but there's something going on with you. Your halo is slipping. Oh, it's back again. Oh, it's gone. Heidi, can you do the next one? Let Anna get her microphone sorted out.
No, she's back.
Oh, she's back.
But where are we?
Yeah,
Just to
You
know.
I
got
think
out
it's
of it.
okay.
What number are we on?
We're on
I
Three.
think
Third one.
it's okay
Oh.
now.
Okay. Is it?
Yeah, there's something wrong. Do the ABC.
You can't hear me?
Yeah.
Let's mute Anna for a second. Her microphone, there's something going on there. All right. Go for it, Heidi.
I do not understand anything I see. How could I understand what I see when I have judged amiss? What I see is the projection of my own errors of thought. I do not understand what I see because it is not understandable. There is no sense in trying to understand it. That's a funny line.
Truth.
There is no sense in trying to understand it. But there is every reason to let it go. I make room for what can be seen and understood and loved.
Good.
I can exchange what I see now for this merely by being willing to do so. Is this a better choice than the one I made before?
Right. There's no sense in trying to understand conflict.
I know.
It's literally not understandable by definition. That's why it's called conflict. You can't understand it. The attempt to understand it is what conflict is in your own mind. You know, it's like war and all this shit going on and all these ideas that we're forced to look at every day. It's like you try to look at it, you try to look for a meaning in it. What does that mean? Why is that so?
I feel like, yeah, this is so much like, this actually just speaks like my day.
Right.
And just honestly, like I work in a restaurant, right? I work for tips, right? And so,
yeah.
And I spent today, and somehow in my mind, like my worth is established by the tips I make, or like how I'm doing things. And I base and I get so, because now I'm trying to apply my principles. I'm trying to apply my teachings to my life.
Right,
and to
good.
today. And I get so caught up in my mind about trying to understand if I get this series of like bad tips. Well, that has to be me. That's my mind, you know, or like, I don't know. I get into this role where I just have to let it. And I'm trying to just, why do I make money or that response my sense of worth or my
Right.
my power? I guess that's where I was today. Today's been like, that's been where I've been at. This speaks to it. And I try to understand it. It means so much to me. And when I let it go, and I'm just like, no, this isn't this is not the truth of who I am. Or
Do you see what's on there though in your own mind?
yeah. I go in this on a daily basis.
Right.
Like I have to, this is not actually, this isn't real. Like this isn't what is
right.
This isn't
It's
who
insane.
yeah. When I say this isn't real, somehow I feel like but this isn't real. This isn't real. This money isn't
Right.
real. Like, I will be okay no matter what. Let
Yeah.
it go. Let it go. Let it go.
It doesn't
Don't
define.
talk to my fellow worker about the bad tip I just got. Let it go.
Right.
It's hard. It seems to be very difficult sometimes.
It's because you're not letting it go.
Right.
You're playing the game of letting it go, but you're not actually letting it go.
Right. And I found myself in that space a lot.
Right.
Like I
So
realized
ready? You love the story.
I don't.
It's like me with my lottery ticket, right? The lottery ticket seems fairly innocuous because I'm aware of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not doing it with any intention or any depression that I'm actually going to lose the lottery or win the lottery. I'm doing it for the lols. I'm doing it because it's funny to me. It's like this repetitive behavior. And it's like, but because I'm joining with somebody else in that idea of the lottery ticket, it's like, well, hell, what the hell do I know what it's for? I'll just do it until we don't do it anymore. Right? Maybe the lottery, I don't know. But in your case, it's like you play that game with yourself where you say it's your daily experience, that you're continually evaluating yourself and your self-worth on the tips you get. Right? Now, look at that symbolically. What are you doing in your own mind? You're denying your true worth. It's not that you don't know it. You're just playing a game of denial.
It even comes up like if I was doing the course better, I'd get better tips. You know, like it's so weird. It's so it doesn't none of it matter. Like it just
because you're listening to that voice in your head that tells you that somehow the structure of your worth is dependent upon your associations in the world. It's not.
Right.
But you don't yet want to accept that, because then you're not going to be able to beat yourself up out of it. And you think beating yourself up out of it gets you something. Suffering, right? You got to remember that suffering, pain, and death is what we signed up for coming into this human experience, right? What's death? I'm at the travel agent in the 9th dimension. The travel agent saying, well, here's a ticket to the 3rd dimension. Not many people ever go there, and certainly hardly anyone ever comes back. And you'll be like, well, what is death? And you're like, he's like, I don't know. You got to go and find out for yourself. Tick the boxes, and you're like, I'll have unworthiness, I'll have self-worth and all these issues. And I'll have all these issues that represent what pain, suffering, and death is. It's not the issues themselves, it's what they represent. Right? Oh, I see. This is validating my ideas of separation. That's why you play the game of it. Self-worth and all of that is just on the surface. That's just the story that you give yourself, the excuse. I do this because I have self-worth issues, perhaps. No, you don't. You're deliberately doing it because you're in denial of what your worth actually is. You don't have any issues. This is a crafty little organized entertainment that you're playing out for yourself. And you love it. You love it. You have to feel pissed off about it. It's like me not winning the lottery. I love it when I get that little moment of disappointment. It's like, oh, that's so funny. But I'm laughing. I laugh at it. Whereas you haven't realized you're playing that game with yourself yet, let's say, and you're still getting pissed off about it.
I think I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to see more what
you must be, because you're talking about it at least.
Yeah, I'm catching this like this is a very peculiar
right. Ready? So hear it this way. Hear it this way. You want the guilt.
Yeah.
All right. Guilt is what you signed up for. Guilt is what you want. And any situation that perpetuates the emergence of guilt in you validates the fact that you can't possibly be worthy of God's love, of the universal presence. You know, it's like it's part of the old script. In the new script of healing and forgiveness and patience and tolerance and all of these things, it's a remnant. You're looking at it now in your own mind, and you're like, why do I keep doing this to myself? It's no different to anything else. Why do I keep evaluating my self-worth based on possessions or my trophy wife or my whatever, you know, like everything's always changing. If it wasn't the fact that you were getting minimal tips or whatever, you'd make up something else to beat yourself up with. You'd find something, because it's the nature of mind in denial to validate itself somehow. Right? You're looking for validation out there. The demon of external validation has got you, let's say, and you're playing along as if there's some hope of escape from that game out there. There isn't. You're just going to swap that game for another game. You need a miracle. You need something occurring in your mind that has nothing to do with your own thinking to shift your consciousness from that way of thinking about yourself, from that way of interacting with your world as unworthy or whatever, which is perpetuating the idea of separation, to one wherein you find yourself in an empty space. Don't ride in that space. It's like, I need to go from playing that game to not playing any game, just for a second. I need to be able to hold myself accountable without knowing what my worth as God is, and without trying to establish my worth in the world according to how I've been trying to do it, and just leave it blank so that the Spirit can show me something that has nothing to do with my own self-concept about myself. Right? That's where you're at. Now, it's like Tina with her thing, right? You're not going to do it until you're finally sick and tired of your own game. You've got to get to that point. It's like an alcoholic. An alcoholic will say, oh, I'm never drinking again every day of their goddamn life, until finally they go to AA or some rehabilitation and they actually stop drinking. Until then, it's just words, blah, 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 right? You're no different to an alcoholic. You're a waitress, you're working for tips, whatever, and that depression that you have and that experience that you have of whatever through the lack of tips, it's like that's your alcohol. That's your drug. It's the same thing, right? Every human mind works the same way, looking for validation out there. Who am I? Where am I? What is this place? Fundamentally, because nobody knows the meaning of life here. We're looking in the wrong place. Looking for love in all the wrong places. That's the human scenario, 100%, right? Whereas the truth can only be found within you. Unless you love yourself first, unconditionally, etc., 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 no one else is going to love you. You're just going to look out there and see references of things that are half-hearted and represent love on a conditional basis. That's how it'll be. You'll be like up and down with your tips, or this is happy some days and other days, you know, like there's no constancy, but truth is a constant within you. Find that and you won't care about any of that stuff. And then just whatever you need from day to day will just flow, right? It's like Jesus says, look at the birds of the field. They don't harvest and they don't pull into barns, you know, and whatever. And yet your Father in heaven feeds them. Aren't you more important than the birds? Mm-hmm. Did I get that, Tina? Did I get, was that? I'm pretty close.
Pretty close.
I always feel like you're marking me on my biblical, like there's a secret clipboard. Got that one right.
I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it.
All right, good. So Heidi, stay with that, right? Don't try to escape that scenario.
I feel like it's my mind training. Like that's it. Like I'm just
it is, of course it is.
Go in constantly and every day. Like, okay.
Right. What else could it be? What else could it possibly be? It's the forum for your mind training. It's perfect. You know, these
I'm not in the ebb and flow of it as much as I am like observing, like, okay, I see where I'm going with this. Like
because there's a transition happening.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the transition. You've been in the ebb and flow. Now you're starting to stop and look at it and going, I'm sick of this freaking ebb and flow, right? And you're stepping back from it and seeing what you're actually doing there. And now you're coming to a point where you're looking at the idea of, well, let me make a new decision about this. Mm-hmm. Where is worth actually established? Why do I give a fuck that somebody gives me a big tip one day and no tip the next day? Why should that be how my happiness is determined? You know, there's no lack in God. It's like poverty consciousness. People that wander around going, I've got no money, I've got no money. What's that got to do with anything? Live from love, and then whatever your supply is, it'll just flow. It'll just show up. You know, as soon as you get into the worrying about it, as soon as you're blocking the flow, everything here is energy. Right? Stay open. Don't worry about shit. Just let it go. The best you had going was just going off and dying somewhere anyway. What the hell else you got to do by taking a leap of faith? You got nothing to lose. The ball's in your court all the time.
It's all a bonus.
It's all a bonus. You can't fuck it up. You may not like it. You may not like seeing that you're in the ebb and flow. It's like, God damn it. How stupid am I? Right? There's that thing. But then don't judge yourself. Don't beat yourself up for being stupid, because we're all stupid. It's like none of us knows the meaning of life. We're all here just learning and helping each other to learn. That's it. One day at a time. One day at a time, sweet Jesus. That's all you're asking from me. Show me the way and help me to take one day at a time. See, I know Garth Brooks.
I was gonna say.
Me and Garth are old mates. We go way back many lifetimes. Old cow punches together. Good. Anna, is your microphone sorted, or should we do Tina first, or Ali? Maybe Ali would like to do one. Hey, Ali. Ali doesn't have a book, or you do have a book.
No, I don't. I'm a voyeur today.
That's all right. We all like to watch. We're good at being.
Ali, it's
All
just
right,
that
go.
you have a course book, yeah?
Sorry?
You have a course book, yeah?
No.
Oh no? Okay, all right. Right on.
She'll get one. She'll get one
I
eventually.
will. Yes, I will.
All right,
so
Anna. How's your microphone?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. You look
Okay.
like you look like your whole background's out of focus. There's something weird happening. I don't know what it is.
She's playing with filters.
It's like you're superimposed, or what do they call that? CGI. You know?
Playing
Aren't
with
you
filters.
tricky today? Tricky. Good to see. All right, let's go. Have it.
Okay. These thoughts do not mean anything. The thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything because I am trying to think without God. The thoughts of which I am aware do not mean anything because I am trying to think without God. What I call my thoughts are not my real thoughts. My real thoughts are the thoughts I think with God. I am not aware of them because I have made my thoughts to take their place. I am willing to recognize that my thoughts do not mean anything and to let them go. I choose to have them be replaced by what they were intended to replace. I choose to have them be replaced by what they were intended to replace. My thoughts are meaningless, but all creation lies in the thoughts I think with God.
Cool. Finally, you can stop listening to that voice in your head that tells you a whole bunch of meaningless babble.
Yeah.
I choose to have them be replaced by what they were intended to replace. It's hard to imagine that there's another whole way to think about things that's still contained in your mind, isn't it? It's like, what do you mean? Where are the thoughts that I intended to replace? Well, they're there if you stop listening to that voice that tells you a load of shit. That judgmental, you did, he said, she said bullshit voice. Who the hell needs that voice? It just goes yuck, 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 yuck all day, all night. I'm a little baffled by the voice that told me the Queen was going to pass tomorrow. That was a bit weird. Is that in God's thoughts? Is there some kind of like, what the hell? But It's been validated and verified. Can't escape it. One of the greatest opportunities, and also one of the greatest challenges, I suppose, that you're going to have is learning not to rely on your own thinking to get you out of a situation. You know, we're learning to become miracle minded. It's like, I don't know how to deal with this. I need a miracle. How often do you tell yourself that? Never. I don't know what to do here. I need a miracle. I need something else to happen that's not of my own thinking, because my own thinking only ever keeps me bringing me around to more of the same shit. My own thinking is just the same thing, day in, day out. Judgment, condemnation, putting everything in a box and a pigeonhole, trying to work out the whole higgledy-piggledy of my day. It's hard work and it's mental. You don't even need that voice. You don't even need to listen to those thoughts. You're still completely capable of getting through your day and doing everything that you do, completely going to the shop, going to Heidi's cafe, leaving her a tip, doing everything without having to listen to one of those thoughts in your head. Because there's this kind of inner guidance that you have that is divine, that will get you through the day without the need to sit and arbitrate everything. That's painful. These thoughts don't mean anything. It's like, oh, thank God for that. I'm sick of listening to them. You don't need them. Who told you to listen to that voice in your head that blah, blah, blah? You know, I have people tell me they can't sleep at night because that voice in their head just keeps them awake. It's like, well, stop listening to the freaking voice in your head. It's that simple. Stop listening. It'll eventually fade off. But whilst you listen to it, you verify it and keep it pertinent. You believe that if you didn't have some voice in your head babbling on at you all day, every day, you wouldn't be human. You wouldn't know how to get through the day. You wouldn't know what anything was. Yes, you would. The birds don't need a voice in their head to tell them how to fly every day. Dogs, everything's just happy being what it is. It's only human beings that become emotionally distraught. Animals just live from instinct. They just live from that sense. A whole other thing that human beings have lost touch with. Right? Jesus says, you're not of the world. Give up the world. This is not your home. It's like we're an intruder here. We're a strange species in a place where we don't fit in. It's like, oh, he means that literally. Everything else on the planet knows what it is. Every other living thing on the planet is able to organize itself in some harmonious, symbiotic relationship with anything under the banner of survival of the fittest and evolution and all of this sort of stuff. And us human beings are running around trying to destroy everything. Deliberately. We deliberately go to work each day to build tanks and cannons. We do that deliberately. Why? For money. What do we need money for? Who the hell knows? Somebody told us. Why do we participate in it? Because we want to. No one's forcing us. Nobody is forcing us. Everyone could just walk out of work on one day like they did in India when Gandhi said about the liberation from England. He called a national strike. Everybody walked out and said, we're not doing this anymore. Ta-da, see you later, bloody Queen of England. Fuck off. And they had no choice but to fuck off. How shall we fuck off, sir? That way. It's very Monty Python, isn't it? With what action shall we fuck off? So you have to be told everything. It's like, hang on a minute. The power of God is in you. You don't need to be told anything. You don't need to listen to that voice in your head that tells you that you have to fit in with society, obey the rules, do this, do that. 99% of people on the planet listen to that voice, but yet everybody's capable of getting through the day without having to be told how to do it. You know how to put your pants on in the morning. You know how to put food in your gob. You know how to wipe your ass when you get off the toilet. What more is there? Keep it simple. That voice doesn't offer you anything that you don't already know. It's like Jesus says, what cubit can you add to your stature by worrying? You can't change one hair on your head from black to white by worrying. What kind of crazy fucked up thing are you that wanders around all day worrying about shit when it doesn't do anything? It does nothing. Absolutely nothing. Therefore, I must worry because I want to worry. I love worrying. Worrying is something alien and foreign to me that I can't experience in eternity because there's nothing to worry about there. It's a singular state. So you come to earth and you worry. So, oh, this is new. Look at me worrying here in the park. Look at me worrying in the supermarket. Look at me worrying at work. Worry, worry, worry. You know, it's an incredible thing. No one in heaven knows what worrying is. Fuck you, look at me worrying. I've got this worrying down pat until finally you realize it's like a kid that goes on the slippery dip. They do it again and again and again until they realize I'm bored with the slippery dip. I'm done with worrying. You got to bring yourself to that point, Heidi. Got to bring yourself to that point, Anna, where you're done with comparing yourself to external parameters and using your own thinking to do that comparative work. What's the point of it? Who are you trying to impress? So you can be the biggest worrier? So you can beat yourself up the most? Go ahead. See what it gets you. Hopefully, if you're sitting here in this Zoom meeting, you start to realize it doesn't get you anything. It's pointless. I'd rather just have love and I'd rather just have peace. I'd rather not have to play this game of defining myself by my circumstances or by my particulars. Doesn't do me any good, and everybody else around me worries for my state of mental health. Maybe I'm crazy. Sitting here worrying all day. Surely if I worry enough, I'll get a grip on things. I just haven't mastered the art of worrying yet. And then, you know, no. Fear begets fear. Love begets love. That's it. You have to make a definite choice. Every moment you see yourself denying love, you need to make a definite choice. Not that. I don't know how to do not that. Sigmund Freud used to say, it takes about 25 times to change a bad habit, right? Thinking is a bad habit. Human thinking is the worst kind of habit you can have. It doesn't matter how it manifests. Thinking about yourself and others is ridiculous. There's nothing to think about. How is thinking about other people going to help you? You're still going to die. There's still a 6-foot hole and a pine box at the end of the journey. Doesn't matter how much you want to think about it. You're being offered salvation. You're being offered a way off the merry-go-round of reincarnation, out of the loop. Let me think about that. Let me just think about that, Jesus. I'll just, you know, it's like, give up the world and follow me. Let me think about that. I might just go back to the restaurant tomorrow and get some shitty tips and beat myself up a bit, and I'll let you know. I'll see if I've got a better thing going on. It literally comes down.
I would say, like, even getting good tips. So like I glorify that. Right. So it's the same, right?
It's
like,
the same. It's the other end of the yin and the
right.
yang. It
So,
keeps you in the
so
loop.
it's bring in the space, yeah.
Hooray, I got an extra $1 today. Woohoo, I'm worthy. All right, oh, I'm not worthy again. It's like, what kind of a game is that? You're competing with yourself for no prize at all other than the, you know, the perpetuation of the competition itself. Go on, Anna, do the next one. Yay. These are juicy, juicy lessons.
I am never upset for the reason I think. I am never upset for the reason I think because I am constantly trying to justify my thoughts. I am constantly trying to make them true. I make all things my enemy so that my anger is justified and my attacks are warranted.
Read that line again.
I am constantly trying to make them true. I make all things my enemy so that my anger is justified and my attacks are warranted. I have not realized how much I have misused everything I see by assigning this role to it. I have done this to defend a thought system that has hurt me and that I no longer want. I am willing to let it go.
And look at me. Say to me, no, I'm not. Fuck you. Go on, say it.
No, I'm not. Fuck you.
Exactly. There we go. That's honesty. In the moment you're willing to let it go, you'll let it go. Until then, it's practice. It's just like, well, maybe.
Yeah.
I have people all the time, you know, and they say to me, oh, this problem, that problem, this and that. And I'll just say to them, just let it go. And they'll be like, yeah, I know. And then they'll keep wanting to talk about it and be like, no, let it go now. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, blah, 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 blah. No, let it go. And you've literally got to hold somebody accountable to the action of letting go in their own mind before they can see that they're not actually letting it go. It's kind of bizarre. You know, it's like when you do the self-reflective work in this course and you see in those lessons that you're being told what's on offer to you, a peaceful mind, a happy life and everything, just for the simple letting go of all your own bullshit. And you don't want to let it go. You have to see first, I don't want to let it go before you can actually let it go. Right? Because the idea that it's there in the first place is what resistance to peace and love is. The idea that you have conflict in your life in the first place is the symbolic representation of the idea that you don't want love. Because in the moment you want it, you'll have it. God is not limiting love to you. God just gives endlessly, without reserve, unconditionally, no judgment. God's like the light bulb in the sky, just always shining. And you're like doing this. Oh, no, I think I'd rather have judgment and condemnation. And, oh, there's God. Oh, no. Because you're playing this game of being unworthy. Right? You are the light. You got to realize you're doing it to yourself before you can stop doing it. Right? It's like that whole place you get to where it's like, oh, I can't take responsibility for my life until I'm willing to see that I'm the one that's sabotaging everything. You know, you got to be willing. It's like, I can't put my finger on my nose while I'm still pointing it at somebody else. It's impossible. You're to blame for this. Boop. You did this to me. Boop. You got to own everything. If you want to escape it, if you want a peaceful mind, a peaceful life, you got to be like, fuck it. I'll just let it go. What else are you going to do with it? Mull it over in your head until you're 99 years old and unresolved situations and just watch me. I'll take my grievance to the grave. How does that help you? You've had a whole life of carrying this grievance around, getting cancer and having fucking midlife crisis because you're energetically impacted by your own judgmental ways of being. Instead of being happy and joyous and like, woo, who gives a fuck? Doesn't matter. It's just a dream. It's just a dream. You got to enjoy the ride at some point and just go, fuck it, I'm just going to enjoy the ride. I can't fix the world. I can't fix anyone else. All I can do is fix myself. All I can do is bring myself and hold myself accountable so that I can be at peace. And hopefully that will become infectious. Maybe people will stop trying to be so rigid in how they, you know. I remember my brother Stan. I just did. If you go on my page, you'll see my little dancing video I just did. I thought I was dancing away, and then I thought, oh, I should put this as a live thing. Yeah, me, I can dance. I've got some moves. I thought I should put this as a live thing because I was having fun. I was just like releasing and doing stuff. And I remember I used to go and see my friend Stan, right? So Stan's like about 78 years old now, lives in West Australia. And about 25 years ago, when we were all at the meditation center together for all that time, Stan would go on a Saturday night, they'd have live music up at the pub, right? And the pub in Byron Bay was this big on the beach thing with this huge courtyard and live thing, and people would get up and dance. But nobody got up and danced like Stan. Stan was like, woo! He was totally feeling his spirit and like letting himself go. And there was always like 20 people on there, and they'd clear a big space for Stan, you know, like people would come to the pub just to watch Stan dance. And Stan would be like just doing his, you know, those Mr. Windy things, and they put him in car yards and their arms go. And he exactly, Stan was like that. He had no rhythm, but his rhythm was totally, he was the rhythm. And I would sit there sometimes and I'd have a drink and I'd watch Stan dance, and I'd be too bloody inhibited and too bloody confounded and caught up in my own self-image to get up there and actually have a crack at feeling as free as Stan felt in that moment and letting it go, you know. And it took a long time, and I'd think, oh, what's people going to think of me if I start dancing like Stan, you know? And it's like, and it's not that you can actually dance like Stan, but just to feel your own spirit, just to feel that energy flow through you and feel your own vibe, you know, it's just a wonderful thing. But you've got to be finally fed up and sick and tired of yourself not doing that. And you've got to be sick and tired of giving a fuck and just let it go. Let it all hang out and wobble about, and you know, who cares what anyone thinks? Everyone's got a 6-foot hole in a pine box. Ain't nobody going to get to the end and go, told you so. You got this one moment, this one life, this one experience. Why clog it up with crap? You know? Why clog it up hanging on to grievances and judgments and somebody did something? We're all learning. Everybody's susceptible to temptation. Everybody's susceptible to the darker forces of the experience of pain, suffering, and death here. It's like, take a load off your shoulders and let your brother be themselves. It's like, help them out. Become your brother's keeper. There's guys out there committing murders and bank robberies and fucking raping and pillaging and doing all that shit. And it's like, they don't even know what they're doing. They nailed Jesus to a cross. He says, forgive them, Lord. They don't know what they're doing. They know not what they do. Right? The mind that is impacted with self-identity has no clue about love. It's completely listening to that voice that tells it what to do. And that voice is not your friend. That voice in your head, that ego, it uses the same power as the Christ mind in you to corrupt your best interests as it does to, as you have available to make your best interest manifest. You know, you can't judge anyone else for their journey here. You can't judge Adolf Hitler or bloody, who's that guy, Trump, or any of those people that seem to make bad decisions and cause people untold grief in their lives. Everybody signed up for untold grief when we came here. Imagine if you got to a planet whose, you know, the brochure in the travel agent said death, suffering, pain, and separation from God, and you came here and everything was all perfect. You'd be like, hey, I've been ripped off. I didn't get any death, suffering, or pain. It's like, I want a refund. But you think you're actually a body, and you forget that you're spirit, and you go through this bodily experience and you bemoan it. It's like, oh, it seems very real to me. I think I've been beaten up. I think I've been abused. I think I've been all of these things. And it's like, when? When were you ever any of those things occurring? Never. Those things never happened. But you have memories of them, you have ideas of them, and you have a script of them in your mind that you justify through grievances and attack mechanisms and defense mechanisms that keep it real to you rather than letting it go. A dream can't define you. And the point of all spiritual realization is understanding that it is just a dream and getting beyond that point so you can look back. It's like, oh, it's like I love not Ram Dass, Alan Watts. So spiritual realization is getting beyond the dream, looking or going through that door that leads beyond the dream, looking back and seeing that there is no door. You can't sit here in the physical framework of things and imagine that none of this is actually happening, that you're actually perfectly safe in heaven and you're making it all up in your head and everybody's just playing a part you've asked them to play. It's impossible to reckon that. You can't put two and two together with that in your head, because you seem to be finding yourself here in it, and it seems to be tangible and real, and you have no other reference point for reality, which is why you need to pursue spiritual enlightenment or the realization of self, so that you have another reference point for reality in your own mind, and then you can look at all these things and be like, oh, I see, that never actually happened. I love that scene in The Matrix, you know, where Neo, they put him back in and they're driving down the street. He escapes the Matrix entirely, and they're driving down the street and he's in the backseat of the car and he looks at the little Indian food shop or whatever and he goes, oh, I used to have dinner there. And he goes, that never happened. You know, everything is just mind. You realize it in your own mind. You convince yourself it happened and that everything is there according to how you perceive it. But it's only according to your own version of reality. If reality is formless, if you're not a body, if you are the spirit, then everything that apparently happens to your body has to be an illusion. But who are you that it happens to? You are the mind. Spirit and mind is the same thing. You are the mind. Now, if your mind manifests your reality, what is it the hell that I'm manifesting here? Why would I ask anyone to play that part for me? I must be mad. Yes, you're mad. Why did I choose to come to this planet, to this experience? God didn't force me here. God's love, unconditional love. God gave me free will. Of my own free will, I chose to come and have this experience. Why? Because all of eternity, fuckers. All of eternity. Eternity. Try to get a sense of it. What am I going to do with eternity if I've got free will? I know I'll have an experience of denying what eternity is. This is it. You can call it hell. You can call it whatever. It's like Mick Jagger. I know I'm going to heaven because I've done my time in hell. That's what this is, in case the bells haven't rung and the lights haven't gone on yet. You're in hell now. There's no pitchforks and flames and all of that shit. Hell is getting the results of your own thinking. I made a choice to go to Africa and I was eaten by a lion. Well, it was your choice. You can't blame the lion. The lion's just part of the landscape. The lion's just what Africa represents. You got to take responsibility for your life and for your experience at some point, or you're not going to get out of it. You're going to perpetuate it and give yourself a freaking conniption. Grievances are powerful. You can carry that grievance for the rest of your life and it's going to turn you into a miserable, bitter, ugly, ugly person on the inside. Or you can learn to be grateful for the experience that you've had overall, the good and the bad. It's like, wow, I see there's some really good shit here and there's some really crap shit. And we do our best to avoid the crap shit and have only the good shit. But because it's contained, the world's contained in our minds in thought, it's inevitable that we come into contact with some of the bad shit. And it's going to bring an emotional distraught and all this sorts of stuff goes on. And we're going to want to look out there and blame somebody else for the experience we're having, which won't get us out of the experience we're having. Karma is a bitch. It just keeps coming around again and again and again until we're ready to learn the lesson. A lesson repeats until it's learned, and what you resist persists. That's the two laws of karma. A lesson repeats until it is learned, and what you resist persists. Try to prove to me otherwise. You cannot get out of it. Day in, day out. It's impossible. If you try to move town, avoid it in one form, it'll show up in another form in another town, because your mind manifests your reality. And you may not like it. You may be absolutely stamping your foot in the dirt and, oh, I didn't ask for this. I don't want it. God damn it. But there's a 6-foot hole in a freaking pine box at the end. Doesn't matter how hard you stamp your foot. What do you want to do? Get to the lifeboats or go down with the Titanic? You want freedom and peace and love, or do you want to just hang on to that grievance a little longer and maybe you can wring it out for all it's worth and make somebody else feel bad? I want somebody to suffer because I suffered. How the hell is that a good perspective? An eye for an eye. You're going to be happy when the whole world suffers? What kind of a person does that make you? Tina, let's do a lesson. You got me teaching here. Imagine if you knew that the Titanic was going to sink before you bought a ticket. Would you get on it, really?
Oh.
Funny. Yeah, I'm still going to get on board.
Sounds fun.
That's how crazy we are. I'm still going on my journey because I got a ticket.
No, and the first part's really fun until I hit the glacier. That part was great.
Thing.
I am upset because I see what is not there. Reality is never frightening. It is impossible that it could upset me. Reality brings only perfect peace. When I am upset, it is always because I have replaced reality with illusions I made up. The illusions are upsetting because I have given them reality and thus regard reality as an illusion. Nothing
Yes. Choose. Use it for your power. Use it for your power.
nothing in God's creation is affected in any way by this confusion of mind. Oh, I am always upset by nothing.
Right. You would have to be looking at memories or the fear of your future to be upset. Get that? In this moment where life actually is happening to you, there's no thought about it because you're present. You're not looking into the past about the pain and suffering of your past, and you're not looking to the future as an attempt to try and defend or predict what that might be. That suffering can only ever occur in your thinking because you're activating that thinking intentionally again and again and again. Choose to continually keep looking at what happened to me in the past and looking how I'm going to feel about it in the future. And I miss the actual moment of here and now where my life actually is, in this joyous moment. I miss the glory and the wonder. And, you know, it's like life is an incredible thing. Take a leaf off a tree and look at it. Just look at a leaf. We take everything for granted. Familiarity breeds contempt. Look at a leaf. How is it possible? Look at your hand. Wow, what the hell even is this? Little babies lay in their cot, newborns, and they're like, what the hell? They stare at shit. They can't even focus. They're like, where am I? What the hell? They're totally in wonder. Little kids are in wonder. You know, it's why Jesus says, learn to become like little children, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. Little children will live in the moment. Bang their shin on the thing in the playground, they'll get over it and they'll go and bang their shin again. They don't care. It's just like bam, bam, bam. They're not building up defenses against doing that. They're too busy in their passion and their joy and their living. We lose that as we grow up. We go through this thing called puberty, and all of this egotistical crap starts to creep in, where we start to compare ourselves with others. Kids don't do that. So, read the next one. Power. Read it from Power.
I see only the past.
Right, exactly.
As I look about, I condemn the world I look upon.
Right.
I call this seeing. I hold the past against everyone and everything, making them my enemies. When I have forgiven myself and remembered who I am, I will bless everyone and everything I see. There will be no past, and therefore no enemies. And I will look with love on all that I failed to see before.
Right. You got to take responsibility for your journey, though, to do that. So this finger has to stay on this nose. I wrote this script. I asked for this person and that situation. I manifest everything that occurs to me, good and bad. That's a big bite of the apple to take. You know, you look at that, you look at it from that point. It's like, I wrote the script for my experience in pain, suffering, and death land. I'm not going to get out of it, out of that script. It's like a record that's stuck and the needle keeps coming around. It plays again and again and again, lifetime after lifetime, until I can accept that I own it, that I wrote it. You know, it's one thing to realize that you're dwelling on the past and living your present moment as if the past still affects you, but that's your choice to do so. It's another thing entirely to realize that you're the orchestrator and the dreamer of your dreams.
Because I want it.
Everything in the world that occurs to you happens to you and around you, and you're the one who's aware of it. Why? I'm the one dreaming it up. It's not someone else out there forcing me to be a part of their dream. This is my dream. Crap. It's like the Aboriginals. I'm walking through my dreaming.
Yeah.
Everything in Aboriginal culture is steeped and rooted in the dreaming. It's my fishing dreaming or my hunting dreaming. Everything's the dreaming, and they're aware that eventually when their dreaming is done, they return to the spirit. Same like Buddhism, same like Hinduism, same like Christianity, if you get a proper interpretation of it. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. You've been hearing it since you were a kid. The dream house, the dream job, the dream lifestyle. you start to catch on. It's like, maybe it is just a freaking dream. Maybe I am somewhere else actually dreaming this whole thing. How can I find out if that's true? I have to awaken from the dream. Once you awaken, that's the beginning. Once you realize you're dreaming and you have that awakening experience, which people are having all over the planet now, having experiences of being beyond their body, out of the world, beyond the stars and the sun and the moon and everything. People are having those experiences everywhere. They used to lock people up for having those experiences, running down the street naked. Woohoo, I've seen God. Woohoo, I've got no body. Woohoo, I'm not a physical thing. But we'll fight for our limitations tooth and nail. We'll fight to condemn. Make no mistake about it. That finger and that end of the nose, that's the hardest thing you'll ever have to do in life. Take responsibility for yourself. I'm the dreamer of my dream. What am I going to do? Blame everyone else for all the bad shit that continually happens to me? I got sacked because somebody else thought I wasn't worthy. It's like, nah. I got beaten up because somebody else thought something about me. Nah, that's not it. Everything that happens to me, I experience is because I want it to. It's part of my own. You know, it's like a gladiator in ancient Rome. I'll be a gladiator, says every little boy, because of all the accolades and the fame. And if you're a gladiator, you're someone. And then you train and train and train, and they put you into the pit to be a gladiator, and they send out a freaking lion, and you're mauled to death. What are you going to do? Blame the people that send out the lion? It's like, no, you chose to be a gladiator. That's what you wanted. You chose to come to the world. That's what you wanted. Believe it or not, it doesn't matter. It's still happening. I don't want to believe that. It's great. Don't believe it.
Yeah.
Don't believe it. Push the limit of non-belief until finally you find yourself in that dark, miserable corner, all alone, and wondering what the hell life's really about. If you truly knew this was a dream, you wouldn't react to any of it.
Exactly.
You wouldn't judge yourself by any of it. You wouldn't give a damn. You'd start working on your own karma, and you'd start practicing forgiveness and tolerance and patience and all those things, liberating your own mind from the nature of bondage to time and space.
It's like there's this momentum in the wrong direction. I mean, that's what it feels like. Like,
right.
You know, there's like this momentum because, like, I've heard this. I think I've been applying it, but it's like you're saying it now, and it's kind of like I feel like the momentum is starting to go this way. You know what I mean? Like it's been like so like this, but it feels like
it takes a while to slow down.
Yeah, because it's like I feel like right now, like I'm willing to just everything is me. You know what I mean? Yeah, I've been saying that, but I feel like I'm willing to, like, I'm not going to make any exceptions. And I don't even know what that means.
Right. You don't have to know what it means. You'll find out as you begin to practice it. You know, the first time you have a shift in your consciousness, the first time you have an actual quantifiable shift in consciousness where you go to bed one day and wake up different the next, it's like you'll realize then that everything that you're about is a true thing happening, taking responsibility. You can't spend a whole lifetime pointing your finger, blaming everybody else, and then suddenly make a decision to put your finger on your nose and expect everything to suddenly change in your awareness of it instantly.
Yeah.
Because there's like this massive backlog of judgment that you've got going. You got to deal with that first. It's like, all right, I want to change the way I see the world. I want to change the way I see myself and others and everything else. And it's easy to say I want to do that, but first I've got to clear away, empty out these filing cabinets full of judgment and condemnation so I can make room for the new way I want to see things.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
Right. And you start with one little filing cabinet that you think you can manage. I'm going to forgive my mother for forcing me to eat freaking Brussels sprouts. Or whatever.
It feels like, you know, the finger, like you go, okay, put a finger on my nose. for the first 8 hours. And then like one thing happens, like, oh, okay, well, in this situation. And then go, oh yeah, that's right, that's right. Finger on my nose. You know what I mean? It just feels like it's so easy, like it just slides off and you are in it.
You
And then
get
all
like
of a
a
sudden,
super glue. Get
what's
super
that?
glue and then just
Yeah.
stick it there. Everyone will ask you, they'll be walking around and be like, how come you got your finger super glued to the end of your nose? So if I don't forget that I'm dreaming this whole damn thing. So I don't forget that I'm responsible for it. I'm responsible for my own sanity. That's the bottom line. I'm responsible for my own mental health, my own sanity, my own inner peace. That's it. It doesn't go any more deeper than that.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Right. But then try to put that into place when
Exactly.
as soon as you got to look at your grievance, it's like, no, I don't want to put my finger there. It's like, no. Someone
I don't
did
know.
something.
It's just, I just feel like I do, but I don't know. We'll see, you know.
That's why you have to get out of your comfort zone. You're not going to see that this is active in you until you get out of your comfort zone.
Me?
Everybody. It's like it's the whole thing. Life, it's easy to convince yourself that anything whilst you're in this kind of cloistered kind of environment. But as soon as you get out of your comfort zone where people don't know you and no one has to abide by you or give you any credibility for what you're trying to portray as the image of the person you are, then you can be tossed and turned and tussled in the waves of life and you'll see where you're really at. You know, you'll see where you're really at when you're willing to actually put yourself out there. And you can sit on your couch and go, yep, I'm all good. I'm okay. We just have, do you guys have Are You Okay Day over there?
I don't know anything about it.
We have this thing called Are You Okay Day here in Australia, and it's like it's the most ridiculous fucking initiative. I don't know whoever thought of it. Needs a good slapping, me. Like, of course you're not okay, you know, but you're not going to know that you're not okay until you're willing to actually see it. Until then, you'll convince yourself you're okay. It's like when you ask people, you know, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm good. It's like, no, how are you really feeling? Well, I'm good, but I wish things could be better. How are you really feeling? I'm good. I wish things could be better. And I really hate my next door neighbor. And if you dig deep enough within your own psyche, you'll find all these things that aren't actually okay. Right? But we tend to live on the surface of what do you call it? Accommodating to the status quo of things and convincing ourselves that we're not damaged or not whatever, that we don't actually really get to look at how things really are for us. So it's like, Anna, when you're reading those lessons and I say to you, is that how you really feel about that? And you're like, no, fuck you. I don't want, you know, of course you don't. Nobody wants peace. Nobody wants love. Nobody wants to remember reality. Nobody wants to awaken from the dream. You kind of have to be led to this point where there's no alternative but the awakening. And you have to see that your own thinking doesn't get you anything. That's when finally you give up, and that'll be the most joyous thing that you ever do in your life. But you're afraid to give up. You're afraid to quit. You're afraid to say, I'm a failure. I can't do it. You're afraid to say, I need help. That's the human being. I got this. I got it all together. I'm listening to all my thoughts. My thoughts are telling me what to do, and I'll soldier on. It's like the next thing you know, you're feeling suicidal. Got a rope around your neck. I know that one person. Didn't work. It's like, no, you got to admit to your pain. I'm in pain. I'm hurting inside and I'm all fucked up. I need help. It's like, well, here's the help. I don't want your help. Fuck off. And you just stand there. Here's the help. Here's the help. It's like AA. The door of AA is always open. I don't want AA. I just want to stop drinking. Well, here's AA. The door's always. I don't want AA. Fuck you. Fuck off. I just want to keep drinking until I decide when I don't want to keep drinking. I don't want someone else to tell me. But you don't get salvation on your own terms. You don't get mental health on your own terms. You have to meet the terms where they're at. Brutal self-honesty. Brutal. Radical forgiveness. Radical. You got to weigh up where you're headed, and you got to weigh up what's offered. I see that I'm headed into a dark, miserable pit. Do I want that? No. Well, here's peace and love and the joy of finding yourself, which is the true being of God within you. You can have that. Well, I don't want that either, because then I'll have to let go of the justification for my grievances that are in this side. Well, you can just sit in the middle until you're ready to make that decision. And that's all that salvation ever is. It's seeing that you're being offered, and that you're only ever saying no, no, no. I'm saying I want yes, but I'm actually meaning no. My actions are defining me, not my words. Actions speak louder than words. My actions define my being. Am I happy? Am I at peace? Do I have any grievances? You know, there's this whole process of looking at what's offered and seeing where I'm at with that, which is what we've been on about today. I'm being offered perfect inner peace, and I'm being given the way to achieve it through forgiveness, through all these things. And I'm looking at it as if it's somehow kind of like I have an option. If you have an option, go be about it. See that that won't work. See you back here in the next Zoom meeting. But eventually you do. Eventually you see your mind, how it slows down, and that mad rolling kind of desire for death and carnage and suffering and justification, it comes to a stop. And then it starts to roll back in the other direction. It's like that's the whole meaning of repent. Repent means to turn around, very simply. To turn around. You've been walking away from the light, walking away from truth and reason and all that. Turn around, face the light. See what it is you've been walking away from, and I guarantee that you'll want it more than what you think you've got in that destination of darkness that you're headed to. I can't force you to turn around, though. I can only stand here behind you going, hey, turn around, I'm over here. Come on, take my hand. Let's do this together. You can do it. You can do it. Just one little turn. It's that first shift, that first little, it's like, Heidi, you got it happening. You're seeing it there in your work. You're seeing what it is you're doing in your own mind. And there's any tick of the clock, you're about to have a shift in consciousness regarding that whole situation, which will domino into every other avenue of your life where you play out the same thing that perhaps you're even unaware of. You're starting to become aware of it in this situation in your workplace. When you start to see that you value yourself so little in that place, you'll start to see where it shows up everywhere. And as you make the correction in that one way of thinking of yourself, you'll no longer accept that way of thinking of yourself in any other situation. It'll be obvious. You'll be like, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. And you'll mean it. But it's almost as if you've got to look at it for a while. I'm going to quit drinking one day. I'll give up the bottle one day. Let me think about it for another 20 years. I'll let go of that old grievance one day. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll take it to the grave. Good on you. See what happens. It's not what goes on within the world that you have to be concerned about. It's what happens next in the bardo. I remember when I flashed out and I had that experience of being told where my teacher sits. This is where your teacher Ted sits, you know, and there was all those divine beings around, and I found myself in that place and I didn't know where it was. I knew that I was being weighed up. I knew that there was angelic or divine, I don't even know how to describe them, but I knew that there was people in charge of this. It's like when you go from one class in school to the next one, and your teacher gets to decide whether you've done enough work to move on to the next class or whether you have to repeat a year. It's the same thing. It's like when Jesus said to Helen, you've been weighed in the balance and found wanting. Right? He's telling her that I'm with you, make good use of me, because you've got a whole bunch of shit going on in there that needs healing. You can't heal it outside of the world. You can't heal it in the afterlife. And you can't take it with you into the life beyond. You're going to have to come back here to redo it. You're going to have to come back here and go through this whole thing and pick up where you left off. That's shit. I've done that many, 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 many times. This is my last time, thankfully. Generally, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because eternity, you know, what the hell? What's 10,000 years for they have come? It's like when you're in time, 10,000 years is a lot. Do I want another 10,000 years of this shit? No. All right, let me be about my salvation. Let me look into that credibly and give it a bit of bloody, you know, a bit of serious intent for a minute and see where I'm at with that idea. Do I want to give up the world, move on in the journey of my soul? That's what's being offered. The journey of the soul through the endless dimensions of time and space and into the dimensionless dimensions. My Father's house has many mansions. There are spheres upon spheres of reality experiences out there waiting. This one is the bottom dwellers one. This is as low as you can go. You can't go lower than the third dimension. What, are you going to come back as a piece of paper? A line on a page. You got to look at the big picture, the big picture. I'm on the journey of my soul. Say it, Anna.
I'm on the journey of my soul.
Right. That's what you're always deciding about. It's not about what's going on in here in time and space. The particulars of time and space are just giving you the opportunity to learn how to make decisions for your own greater good. Your own greater good is to say yes to salvation, however that shows up. Yes to inner peace. Yes to love. Yes to worthiness. Yes to redemption. Yes to being, what was that we read? Exalted. You cannot triumph, but you are exalted. And in your exalted state, you seek others like you and rejoice with them. You have an exalted state. Do you feel that all day, every day? Do you feel exalted? Do you walk around feeling, I don't even know what exalted is. Is that something to do with a sultan? An oil baron? I'm exalted. Your worship, your holiness. It's like, no, it's the natural state of your being. It's an exalted state. It's a higher state. Tune into it. It's what you are. You're a divine child of the universe. You're not this body. You're not this identity that's associated with the body that you play out over and over in your mind every day after day after day, convincing yourself that you're a physical thing that's going to die. That's not what you are. The body's just your vehicle for the experience. It's just your learning tool. You are the mind. I'm a mind. I have a body. Look at that. Wow. Thank you for this avatar. I'll use it as responsibly as I can whilst I'm here. And I'll try not to set the place on fire. You probably will anyway, but hey. Try to feel within yourself a sense of what exalted might be. Try to spend a little bit of time every day escaping your bodily identity, trying to get a sense of what you are as spirit, how beautiful and amazing you are. When you walk into the restaurant and somebody doesn't give you any tips, you are spirit. If it's meant to be, it will. If it's not meant to be, it won't. It doesn't matter. Spirit is fulfilled by its connection with God. Spirit is fulfilled within. From that, everything flows. But you're the one that controls that flow. That's your choice. That's your free will. I choose to live from the flow, or I choose to live down here in the bottom, dwelling, scraping and scrimping and working it out and blaming others and doing all that stuff. It's like, no, that was a bad dream. Don't want it anymore. I'm done with it. I'm going to forgive that, let it all go, and move on in the journey of my soul to something that actually does serve me. And you'll have, what about so-and-so? What about this person or that person? What if I forgive and they just the same arsehole they've only ever been? All of these sorts of, you can't do it that way. You got to cut the cord. I've got to let go. I've got to forgive everyone and everything. I've got to forgive myself. Any questions? Do the next one, Bibiana.
My thoughts do not mean anything. I have no private thoughts. Yet it is only private thoughts of which I am aware. What can these thoughts mean? They do not exist. So they mean nothing. Yet my mind is part of creation and part of its creator. Would I not rather join the thinking of the universe than to obscure all that is really mine with my pitiful and meaningless private thoughts? My meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Since the thoughts of which I am aware.
You answer the question. Would I not rather join the thinking
Of the universe
in mind with my pitiful and meaningless private thought? There's a question. It's always the same question.
Yeah.
Give up the world and follow me.
Do I insist in this moment I am not part of Creator?
Exactly.
Do I insist that I created myself? Am I not part of creation?
would I not rather give up my meaningless thoughts?
And join the thinking of the universe.
Right. That's a big question. The thinking of the universe.
This is the moment that God has made. Let me rejoice and be glad in it. Let me
Ready?
remember.
Ready? Would I rather not give up my meaningless thoughts
Yes.
of the universe? Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Now, don't fill in the gap and decide what that looks like.
No. Only gladness.
No, there, you decided what it looks like. Ready? Don't fill in the gap. Don't put anything in the gap. I just say yes, and then I leave it open. I don't know what gladness is. What the hell? I don't know what anything is. I've just said my thoughts are completely meaningless. Is gladness amongst my ideas of my thoughts? Of course it is. I must have a reference point for it to be able to even utter the word of only gladness. Now, my thoughts don't mean anything. My thoughts don't mean anything, including my thoughts of gladness, including my thoughts of God, my thoughts of love, my thoughts of pain, my thoughts of anything. None of them, including the thoughts of which you become aware in the practice period. Now, if Jesus is telling me my thoughts don't mean anything, what do I want to say about that? Nothing.
Nothing. Because that's just another thought.
Yep, I'm going to enter into perfect stillness in my mind, and I'm not going to fill that stillness in with another thought of mine about anything. Not a damn thing. You can stay there. Yep. In that silent place, right? So it's like a roll of film. You remember 35mm film, camera film? And they shoot a movie at 24 frames per second. But in between each of those frames, there's this thin little black strip that joins them all together, right? They play it so fast, you can't see the strip, right? It's like meditation. In meditation, you slow your thinking down, 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 and you start to realize the gap between your thoughts, right? You refuse to listen to your thoughts. All of a sudden, you're leaving a space, a little tiny gap. That space seems to be going past, and you try to grab it, and it's like, I'm told there's my stillness, and you try to reach out for it, and you examine it, and you point at it, and whatever. Eventually, you get beyond even doing that, and that space lines up in the here and the now. And you go, whoop, and you disappear between that space into the light. But you have to leave that space open. Don't fill in the gap. Don't adjust to your pain. Don't try to run your own show. Throw the frickin' paddle over the canoe and let the current take you where it needs to go. The river knows where it's going. You don't. That's simple. Life is what life is, not your impressions of life, not your version of life and what you think life ought to be. It is what it is. You don't have a say in it. You can think you do, and that's the illusion of free will. But the fact of the matter is, you don't. You don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. You can guess. Doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. Leave it blank. Leave the here and the now and the present moment blank, where life is actually happening to you, and just enjoy it. Let it in. Let it engulf you. Let it sweep you off your feet in its beauty and its glory and all of these things. But don't define it. I'm not going to trust my thoughts. I'm not going to listen to them. I'm just going to sit here and trust that Jesus will connect with me through that gap. The Holy Spirit will come to me in that moment. The spirit of love, the spirit of peace, the spirit of wholeness. And I'm going to learn to live from that place more and more and more. Every moment of every day, until I'm living truly from spirit.
Make myself available when I'm not busy and preoccupied with listening
Right.
to my thoughts and my meaning. Yeah.
You're starting to realize now how often you listen to your thought. Like, oh shit, look at me doing that again. You got to see that that's what you're doing before you can make a decision not to do that. Right?
There are moments that it almost feels like there are no thoughts and I'm lost in joy. I work as a nanny with a 9-month-old baby who giggles for no reason. And at that moment, the feeling, but again, I'm giving a meaning to the feeling. It's
Right.
but
It's
there's no
outside of you.
thinking. There's no analytical thinking. It's just the joy of experience.
Okay, ready? Would you still have the joy of experience if you were a nanny to an 8-year-old boy that was drawing on the wall and cutting up the furniture?
Yeah, I see preferences.
Right.
Hidden preferences, exactly.
Remember, happy for no reason at all. Happy
Exactly,
for no reason at all.
exactly.
Happy within your being, just happy within your being, happy as you are because you've learned to love yourself as you are and accept yourself, warts and all.
No
I'm
meaning.
not perfect. I'm not perfect or I wouldn't be here. Let me accept that I'm not freaking perfect instead of trying to make myself out to be something. I'm on the road to perfection. I'm not perfect yet. Jesus says in the Course, you're not perfect or you wouldn't be here. Right? We're all learning. We're all learning the lessons of life here. This is the divine classroom. And the only lesson we're ever learning is to let go. Let go, let go, let go. Keep going on the river. There's no point throwing the canoe over if you're going to keep grabbing at the grass and the branches on the riverbank trying to slow the journey and, you know, have it how you want it. Just sit in the canoe and just shut up. Just enjoy it. It's not like you have a choice.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a little detox